Michelle was the former wife of John Phillips, lead singer for the Mamas and the Papas. She was an extremely talented musician and actress. One of the reasons I tried to resist doing interviews with people I felt close to had to do with the fact that in the spirit of trust, they might somehow forget that we were on the air. I only recently listened to this interview after decades and felt I may have been a bit intrusive with my questions, and Michelle may have been a little too frank in her responses. Perhaps it was a night when she was feeling particularly vulnerable, or maybe she just wanted to express herself. I'm not sure. But I do feel that there is a media line that one does not cross under the precept of friendship. And this interview was an example of my reticence.
Michelle Phillips, thank you so much for taking a little time out in the evening and coming down and visiting with us. It's a joy having you here.
I'm glad to be here. Nothing else to do.
Me too. If you had to evaluate a particular period of time in your life when your life was at its happiest, at its best, at its highest, would that have been the time?
Well, in retrospect, I guess it would, but we had a lot of problems in the group. I think there were peaks of that era that could be considered the real peaks, but not the era per se. I was terrified most of the time, most of that period, but it was the first time we had money, or fame, or, just the mobility, the being a part of that group and making so much money led to a mobility that was great for a while. But then, the best part of that era is when people tell me how much it affected them. Because people still tell me today that they came to California because they were living in Des Moines, Iowa, and they heard this song one day and they just packed it all up and have lived here for 6 years or whatever, It's wonderful to know that something you did touched the lives of millions of people.
You say it terrified you at times. What about it terrified you?
Just having to actually perform it, to do it, to live up to it, be a mama.
Were there nights that you had to go on stage that you really weren't into it at all, that you really didn't want to do it?
Oh, yeah, and I never, I was always very nervous. But Cass and John and I had terrible fights about the fact that I wouldn't talk on stage. I just categorically refused to say a word. And, Cass would get very annoyed and say, well, why can't you talk? And I'd say, I just don't know what to say, and you do it so well. You do it. Why should I have to do it when you do it so well? And it was enough just for me to get out there and to sing my part.
You miss it?
Oh, yeah. Well, because now there's not even anyone to sing with. It's not a matter of not performing. There's no one to even sit around and jam with, and I miss that a lot. No one I know really plays, not like it used to be. I mean, my life consisted of a continual jam session, from the time I was 17 until John and I were separated.
At the time that you were at the height of your career, when the Mamas and the Papas were at the height of their career, and I guess the two are synonymous, and you had a wonderful marriage with John, and you were selling millions of records, you were all making millions of dollars, you had that mobility, that flight, you had the glamour, you were like a princess figure to millions of girls. Do you ever get the feeling that in your own head, in your own life, that it can never ever be that high and that good and that pure again? Does that frighten you?
No, that doesn't frighten me, because I don't ever really, I don't have the need to have that kind of attention again. I want to be very successful. I'm acting now, as you know, and I want to be very successful, but there was hysteria involved in the era of the Mamas and Papas that I don't miss at all. I don't miss having my hair tugged at or any of that. And once you've done that, it's wonderful to think back. Oh, you can reminisce about when Cass lost a handful of hair in Michigan. But I want to just be very successful at what I do, and I always want to be rich. I'm not. I think that you can be as rich as we were in the Mamas and Papas without having to. First of all, I don't think that kind of hysteria prevails now with any groups or actors or anything like that. It was just a hysterical time.
The money is always of interest to people. You made a lot of bread then, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Were you able to get out with any of it?
Not very much. It's very hard not to spend it, when you get it. And I'm not sorry that we spent a lot. I hope that I'm given a chance. I hope that I have it in me to make a second fortune, because the first fortune is not there anymore. I mean,
you did go through all that bread.
Just rained Gucci luggage for, and the Lear jets, and it was fun. I mean, I would have nothing or very little, or certainly not as much, to remember or reminisce about the Mamas and Papas era if we hadn't spent the money. It took a lot of money to entertain ourselves like that.
Everybody blew it, didn't they? I mean, everybody.
Everyone I know, but there's only one group that I know of that has all of their money. All of it.
I can't think of one. Three Dog Night?
No. Simon and Garfunkel have not spent $1.
That's true. That's true. A small group, actually. Only two. My guest, Michelle Phillips. More after this. You live alone with your beautiful daughter, Michelle. She's such a lovely, beautiful child. You sent me a Christmas card the other day with a photograph of you and a photograph of her upon it, and I've only seen her once or twice, years ago as a matter of fact, but she just has a wonderful quality that radiates through those photographs.
In fact, this is the last picture she's ever going to take with me.
That's it, huh? How rough is that, being alone, raising a child? Is it really a burden, a joy? Would it be better with a man? Would it be better with a husband? Is it best this way?
No, it would be definitely better with a man and with a husband. I would never do it again. I mean, I would never want to get pregnant and do it again by myself. It's so much work, and it's very incomplete. And I guess because, and I've always lived with, I'm so used to living with someone, with man. My mother died when I was 5, and I lived with my father until I was 17, and then I lived with John until I was 26. And I'm just, I hate having to do everything. I mean, by everything, I mean even make my own career decisions, which I hate to make because I never know really what to do. There are so many things that I don't know how to get done, that I would just rely on John to do so many times. And, you got to change every light bulb yourself. I mean, do everything. It's just, you've got to make sure all the bills are... It's just too much. It's too much to expect to do everything that there is to do, raising a child, having a home, having a career, and expecting to do everything right.
Are you looking for a husband? Are you looking for a man? You can't have both.
In a way, yeah.
Well, there's the problem, isn't it, Michelle? The problem is that you need all of that.
No, I'm looking for a relationship. I don't mind. I think what would be ideal would to have your own wing. You know what I mean? Of the house.
Say Jacqueline Onassis says that arrangement.
Well, it's working, isn't it? I think to me, it's very important, especially with a baby, with a child.
You'd like a man there for China's sake.
For my sake. For all the good reasons. And for all the good reasons, I'd like to have my own bedroom, my own living room, and like that.
In the 5 years, what's...
Doesn't mean I like to eat alone.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
I hear you. In the 5 years, you haven't found any man who has seen it that way?
No.
What's the problem? Why? What goes wrong?
Well, no one's really ideal, you know? And it's very important to me to have someone that's ideal. I know that the ideal man is around, and I mean, I'm not even looking that hard. I'm not looking to get married. Don't get me wrong. I would just, I would like it if it happened, because I don't necessarily like living alone and doing it all myself, and not having someone. It's hard to talk about this. You know, you haven't lived with anybody in a long time. I don't know if you would ever want to, but I'm really very patient right now, because I really hate the idea of being divorced 3 times. It's there's something so perverted about it somehow. I want to find somebody that I can really get along with, and that can adjust to my lifestyle as well, and that's asking for a lot. You know, I mean, I want to have a career and be free to do anything I want to do. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's you can see that I'm having a problem finding this match.